I'm Artemis Oninos, class of '87. I'm one of the co-presidents of the Alumni Association. I want to welcome you here.
Who's sitting next to you?
I want to welcome you here today. Thank you for coming to the reunion today here at the school. The Alumni Association, you'll find out more about what we do, but we want to get alumni together so we can all see each other when we haven't had a chance to see each other between our reunion years. So let me start the program. Here we go.
Is there somebody next to
You
you?
see this? He's the co-president with me.
Yep, I'm the co-president of the Alumni Association, together with Artemis, class of '95. I think a lot of you have been to these events before, so you probably are familiar with what goes on. There's going to be some representatives from each class who are going to come up and say a few words, and there's going to be a performance, and then afterwards there's going to be a lunch at the end. Before we get to the programming real quick, I just want to say a few thank yous to some of the people who really made this all possible. Elise Reisman, Mabel, and Kinshasa, you guys all did great work. Thank you very much for putting all this stuff together. The reunion committee made up of folks on the board, the Alumni Association board, Mark Goldsmith, Lawrence, Christine, Craig Lamita, and Susan Spector, so thank you all. And also thank you to all the class coordinators that bringing all the folks through and raising all the money, so thank you very much. So the first item on the agenda is going to be a performance by a trio. They're all seniors currently. The Alumni Association supports the music department at Hunter, and I think everyone or very many people are involved in music throughout their time here at Hunter. So we have three seniors right now: Julia Zahn on the piano, Zoe Skuala on the violin, and Alka Wade on the cello, performing Astor Piazzolla's Invierno Porteño, Winter in Buenos Aires. So. Thank you very much. Julia, Zoe, and Elka. That was beautiful. Dr. Can we maybe turn on the lights a little bit? Let people see. Thank you. Dr. Tony Fisher, the principal, is going to say a few words. I saw you before. There you go. So.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Maybe a little lower on the lights. Right here. The tradition of multi-talented Hunter students is continuing, and I could go on at length about that, but I want to sort of embarrass one person in particular. Recently, Elka, who was just playing the cello, was up here on stage with the strings ensemble, and they broke into not going to throw away my shot from Hamilton, and Elka was the rappist in that So it's great to see everyone, and there's so much I could say, but I'm really not going to say that much. I want to say a few things about the year. Right now, I thought I would very quickly go through how many alums are teaching now this year at the school, and I realized that if I tried to do it from memory, there were too many. I wasn't going to be able to, so I actually had to write them down. So, in the arts department, Dan San Germano. In the English department, Victoria Meng and Danny Moses. In the foreign language department, our senior faculty member and our senior alum faculty member, Audrey Moore. In the math department, Stephen Young, and now on a paternity replacement, Tatiana Rodriguez. In the science department, Noah Kaminsky, Joanne Roque, and Caitlin Samuel is here today. At least one of us. Is Joanne here today? Noah's definitely here. In the social studies department, Irvin Kagan. And then working with our learning specialist on a part-time basis is Zach Gale, and actually working in our front office is Gabe Backell. And I think I got everyone. So that's a lot of alums, and it speaks to how people feel about the school, that so many people decide they want to come back here to teach, and it's great to have that happen. I'll very quickly talk about there are some very special programs that are happening right now, and you've heard about some of them, because of the generosity of alums, and this is something that's really happened in the last 7 or 8 years, that through the donations of individual alumni and also the Alumni Association as a whole, what we've been able to do is sort of purchase faculty time. And so things like the science research program, which were done by science faculty on top of a full load, it's now part of their course load. And the difference is really remarkable. And there's over 90 students involved in our science research program. They're being published in peer-reviewed journals. It's quite a remarkable program. Similarly, we have a journalism program which is robust thanks to an alum, a program in computer science. It's just a lot of different things that are happening through the generosity of all of you, sort of collectively and individually as well. When I thought about this year, and I thought about what's a highlight, because there's so many highlights of this year, and we have a national champion quiz bowl team. We have all these different, we're still doing very well. But in November, we managed, and I was skeptical when this was first proposed to me, and I said, yeah, good luck with that. We managed to get all of our grade 9 through 12 students outside of the building doing community service at different places all over the city. People came in to talk with our 7th and 8th graders, and they sort of did some activities as well, but it was really a day of service for the entire school. We're going to do it again next year. It's going to be a little bit easier because we have the contacts. But they were in gardens, and they were in senior centers, and they were at schools, and it was really an amazing, amazing day to do over 3,000 hours of service from the school in a single day. And if you go on our, I'm actually not sure if you can get on this part of the website without the number of clubs at the school that are dedicated to philanthropy, whether it's fundraising or actually getting out. Doing things has really exploded over the last few years, and that's a tribute to, I think, the sort of the activism of students right now. So hopefully the students today are doing you proud, and hopefully I'm doing you proud as well, and I'm excited to hear from the alumni classes, and thank you all for coming back. If I'm supposed to introduce the next person, I don't know who that is. No, okay.
Thank you very much. It sounds like the school is doing great. Want to introduce our next speaker, which is Claudia Justi, class of 66. She's going to give a little bit of an overview of what the Alumni Association has been doing, as some of you may know.
Once again, technology. Who's doing this? Okay. Hi, I'm Claudia Justi. I'm Vice President of the Alumni Association. I want to welcome you all. Can't hear me? I'll go off rocks on you. All right. Hold on. Now, can you hear me? Yes. The idea is to speak, you know, your whole life you've been told you talk too loud. Okay. Now, anyway, I'm Claudia Justi, class of 66. I am currently the Vice President of the Alumni Association. I just want to welcome everyone and go off script for a minute to say that last year my class had a very large reunion, both in number and in number of attendees. And we had a wonderful time, and you know, as all of you are doing that are having big number or even small number reunions, it's just wonderful to see everyone and to spend this time to get together and just remember being at Hunter, wherever you are. I'm going to show that in a minute. This presentation is what we call the paid political announcement here for the Alumni Association, where we want you to understand what we're doing with the funds that you help us achieve during the year through our fundraising, and how we work with the school, and how we also provide programming for the alums. Okay, and now if this thing will work, we'll be good. Here we go. So we're saying to you thank you for everything you've done to support the association. We're showing all of the schools here that you could have possibly gone to during your time at Hunter. Okay, I belong to the one on the far left. I never really think of this building in the same nostalgic way, but I'm getting used to being up here. Okay. Okay, here, this is what the Alumni Association has done for the school. We have, in the past 7 years alone, contributed over $1 million to the school. And you see some things that we tell you every year. The school, even though it's a public school, we all know does not receive more than a certain amount of funding from the city. And as a result of that, we contribute to a lot of things, as Dr. Fisher just mentioned, even in terms of bolstering faculty and definitely programs. Okay. So these are some of the programs specifically which we have supported. And the method in which we support things is that the school works with the faculty and our grants committee on the Alumni Association to ask us every year to give specific funds for specific programs. And our grants committee then sits down and assesses these and comes up with different things every year that we give money for. So we've done writing labs, we've done a lot with technology, and you can read these for yourself, I'm not going to hold them. Computer labs, the robotics team, this is a big issue at Hunter. They do very well in competitions, so we have supported them over a number of years. This is the team at some city and national regional competitions. Okay, health and phys ed. If you can see on the far left, there's a climbing wall. We were actually asked to support this, and a lot of people thought, what, a climbing wall? But it turns out it's a very big thing for young people now. They really enjoy this, and it's something that they repeated. What did we know? We used to go climb in Central Park on the rocks.
No, I know. I was just saying that we've been fearing.
Okay, and this is in the sciences. We do a lot, as you all know, and there are people who have won various awards and various prestigious awards in scientific talent searches and regional programs and scholarships. Okay, we've purchased or we've helped purchase certain equipment in different grade levels. I'm sorry, I should go back, but I just missed saying we've helped renovate some of the lab space also for the sciences. Okay, in the arts, we've purchased some equipment, including a piano, renovated some music rooms. In other words, the funds that you have donated go to the school to do those things. We also work with the PTA, Parent-Teacher Association, and combining funds, we do a lot of these things. Okay, diversity, we have had 2 initiatives with diversity where we're trying to work specifically with some alums who are on the board and with other alums to try to open up the school to other students who may not know about applying for one of the city's special schools. And some of these have been recent open houses, I believe, that we had just this past spring. Okay, this is a program, all schools are involved in safe space programs now, where you work with students and the administration so that they understand that they can be in a place that is protected for them. Okay, now we get into what do we do for the alumni, for all of you who went to school and still want to be connected. This was, on the top there is a picture of President Obama granting an award to, her name is Mildred, what? Thank you, I'm sorry. And she recently, I think, passed away, but we have, why does this thing keep jumping? This is so good. The other picture was of our wonderful event that we just had in Washington meeting Elena Kagan. Okay, this is, every year we have an autumn reception, usually with someone who is doing something in the field of writing or filmmaking. This was last year's reception. Okay, we took, I think this was in the winter, we had a very nice tour with the docent who is the head of the Museum of Chinese in America, and it was a fabulous private tour, and then of course we went and ate Chinese food in Chinatown afterwards, and this was something that if you live in the metropolitan area you could have signed up for to attend. Okay, we have theater events. Many people this weekend are going to see Cynthia Nixon in Little Foxes either last night or tomorrow afternoon. We're having a theater party, I believe, in the fall to see Bandstand, where an alum is one of the producers, and Hamilton we all know about. Okay, we have book readings and discussions. We had Maura Weigel and Patty Chang Anter at several book readings that we held during this past year. Okay, last year we had this really excellent program at Roosevelt House called Decision 2016 before the election. And everyone on the panel was a Hunter alum who works in journalism or the media. It was really an excellent program. Okay, we've had fundraising galas. We did not have one this year, but we are hoping to have one next year with Bobby Lopez and his wife, who are currently putting together this new Broadway production based on the movie Frozen. If you have kids or grandkids, you know, I'll spit in the song. Okay. And the other two are past galas that we've had.
How are they going to do that?
So in 2018, the Alumni Association will be 45 years old. And we have, in the past few years, starting in 2014, we started working with a strategic plan. And that has allowed us to organize what we're doing as an alumni association based on some sound principles of what should an organization be doing. So the key goals in the plan, and we have worked on this over a number of years, and I was involved in this along with Gloria Lerner and some other people. We support the school. We provide programming for the alumni. We have worked to improve the infrastructure of the office, part of which you see today in the organization that sets this event up. And we've tried to bolster our fundraising every year. And we're working more closely with the school and with the parent-teacher organization that I mentioned before. So in the past few years, we have done specific things that might not be of tremendous interest to everyone as an alum in an abstract sense, but we've revised our mission statement and our bylaws, and we've worked to have a more organized recruitment process for board members. And we're now this year starting something where even if you're not a board member, but you have a specific talent or organizational skill and you want to work with the board as a volunteer, we're going to be doing that this year too. We've had a little of that in the past, but we're trying to bolster that up this year. Okay. And these are things which I've also mentioned previously that we've actually done in the past few years, mostly in programming. When we do give grants to the school, we then ask the school to fill out an assessment to tell us how that has impacted the school and if it's been helpful or it's been achieved the goal that they thought it would. Okay, and we have several new initiatives I just want to mention briefly. One is Hunter Connects. This is a new platform online with where Hunter alums and current students can meet and figure out ways that they might be able to exchange ideas or work plans or somehow work together. One of our alums who is on the board has been working on this. We also have SB, Exam Schools Partnership Initiative, which is trying to broaden the representation of Hispanic and Black students in specialized schools in general. But in Hunter, we're trying to get students involved in the 5th and 6th grade in understanding how to take the tests that you would have to take to get into Hunter. Okay, and this is our thank you to you for participating and being here today. And this is our new mission statement, which sounds pretty simple and obvious, but it took us a while to put it together. And the mission is to sustain a social and professional network for alumni and to provide support for the high school and its students. And we thank you very much for being here today. And I think now we're going to go to class discussions. Thanks.
We have two classes in 1947. There was a graduating class in January, and there was a graduating class in June at those times. Thank you very much for that. So we have the class, actually, I think it might be easier. Yeah, Mona, if you would come here, I think it might be easier. So I'd like to introduce...
I prefer not doing stairs when you're an octogenarian like this.
Yeah. What an honor to introduce the two speakers that we have now. We have, this is Ruth is going to be introducing Mona. Okay.
I beat her to it. I always do.
Okay, greetings and a special welcome to the class of January 47, and for the few of us who are here and those who will be reading about us, I hope, in the newsletter. I'm proud and grateful that I can stand here today upright and ambulatory. And to remember those of our classmates who are no longer with us. I have a special honor because I have a chance to introduce our classmate and speaker, whose, if you still get annals, deep reflection, circumspection, images of loveliness, thoughts that sing, and words that ring, make Mona Sullivar poetess. Let's give a big hand to Mona.
I'm not as ambulatory as I used to be, but let me go. My odyssey at Hunter began more than 80 years ago when I sat in a small desk at a little classroom, and the teacher said, made a check mark on the apron, and I did. And I kept going. And eventually, she put her hand on mine and said, you're done now, dear. And I looked, and the room was empty because everybody else had quit. I'm not a quitter. In September of 1935, I let go of my mother's hand and walked through a door that said girls in that old brick building that they didn't bother showing the picture of. It was there. Yes. I was there. And I looked out an east window and I saw this marvelous gray castle. And I said, I want to go there. Little 5-year-old, I want to go there. But I made it. But at first the old college building had to burn down. Temple Emmanuel, God bless them, took us in. And we went to school there. And time passed. And they built a new building, and you've all seen it. Now it's an old building because it's 80 years old. I'm older than that, though. And it said, Hunter Model School. Model School. The sweet young things kept trooping in to be models. So they changed the name. That's where the elementary school began. I'd like to get hold of the person who says the elementary school is 70 years old. It goes back to, I find the date in here, 1872, when the cornerstone was laid for the original normal school that became Hunter. Mr. Thomas Hunter, who gave us our name, was the principal. And the curriculum, amazingly, was almost the same as what we had in high school. They started younger then. Where the students could also do their student teaching in a nice little building. You went to a passageway. I think they have something like that now. But back then it was very crumbly. It was called the Hall Size. And they went over to a grammar school and they taught there. But they tore that building down. They built our lovely Gray High School there. So in 1943, no one would remember that. It was wartime, double daylight saving. 7 o'clock was really 5 o'clock in the morning, so we went to school by moonlight. That was an experience you want to have. Moonlight is nice, but not going to school. My classmates, some of them snuck out early, went down to Broadway to see a movie. And the truancy police caught them. They wouldn't believe we'd already finished our high school day. Memories. Memories. I remember the hair pull. I remember the hair pull. I couldn't sing on pitch. It was fun. Let's see. I also have that speech memory. but mine's a little better. Christopher Robin has measles and sneezels. They bundled him into his bed. They gave him what goes for a cold in the head. No, they gave him what goes for a cold in the nose and some more for a cold in the head. After all that time, I could, kind of mix it up a little bit. But we learned to talk. We learned to talk properly. We learned to make speeches. We also learned to become young ladies, which I think is a lost development today. I have to find my place because I ramble a little bit. But we had lunch in the basement. Can you imagine that? Ugh. We sat at little tables and ate our sandwiches. And we had gym on the 7th floor. Can you imagine learning to tango with a teacher who was in blue gym suits, bloomers? My personal best memory, which I must share with you, is Mrs. Emily Boggs. She'd done some more work. She'd come back to Hunter, and they stuck her in an algebra class. And I'm sitting there, and she puts her hand on mine, and she says, "Mona dear, that's not how you add numbers." And in 10 seconds, she taught me to add by tens. I became a math minor in college. God bless Emily Boggs. Unfortunately, I'm also trying to be a chemical engineer, but that's something else again.
Just on screen.
I have all 3, glaucoma, cataracts, and macular degeneration, so you're just not, I really, I'm sure each of you has some kind of similar life memories, but finally, I want to say, I am who I am because of Hunter Elementary School, Hunter High School, and Hunter College. Although I went on to get my doctorate somewhere else, this is what made me. I escaped from Hunter because I got married and moved to Albany.
Good morning to all of you, and a very special good morning to the super class of 1947. They asked me to give you some short moments of reminiscences, my own and those of a few of our classmates. So here goes. Many of us were sent to speech class so that we would not sound like New Yorkers. I was absolutely appalled. I was sent, and I was so appalled because I had worked diligently and was very proud of sounding like a real New Yorker. Having come to America at age 8 and not speaking a word of English. But they did convert my zentilized Z and T. Our teachers were all women, and therefore excellent. And they were concerned truly with each of us. The only male was Jimmy, the elevator man. He was very popular. After school, many of us went across the street to put on lipstick, a no-no at school. So across the street, we were very fast women. A classmate noted that the Hunter High experience taught her to never be afraid of brilliance and hard work, and prepared her both how to teach and how not to teach. Another classmate said, I learned more in those 4 years than in 6 years of post-secondary school. Agreeing, another classmate wrote, the intellectual challenge hasn't happened before or since. At assemblies, Dr. Brown, the principal, reminded us that to whom much is given, much is expected. One classmate appreciated that Hunter High was her one and only ally in her fierce battle with her family, who was opposed to both education and careers for women. Very sad. Another woman stated, as the years progressed, I continue to appreciate the importance of a classical education. She also wrote, as a scientist today, I greatly appreciate the importance of our laboratory experience. On the other hand, my own problem with technology became obvious in physics lab, when I was the only one who could not get my bell to ring. We all received a truly excellent education, notwithstanding the music theory teacher who lifted strands of our hair, on some of us at least, to make us sing higher and on pitch, to no avail. Long before women's lib, we were taught that there was nothing we as women could not do. Altogether, it was a wonderful and stimulating atmosphere. Hunter High sharpened our intelligence and developed our zestful audacity. What a fantastic 4 years.
We were not as diverse ethnically as classes are today. There was Anna Wong and there was I, half Japanese. There were girls whose parents and grandparents came from the Caribbean, Poland, Ukraine, Italy, Germany, Hungary. Our teachers, our wonderful teachers, were not diverse. No Asians, no African Americans, no men, of course, except for a student teacher in physics, Mr. Gordon, and we took sadistic pleasure in making him nervous while we were trying to set up an experiment. When Dr. Cyril Woolcock, a man, arrived as our new principal, we took him in our stride. The curriculum included Latin and speech and hygiene and music and French, as well as more predictable subjects. Our American history teacher, Miss Mangum, took us to Columbia University to hear the philosopher Bernard Russell, but the crowds were so huge that we had to stand in the street and listen to loudspeakers. We won an outside Latin contest held by the Classics Club and coached by Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Kahn. Our grounding in French was so good thanks to Madame Rodin and Madame Smith. Hello, Jacques. Quelle nouvelle, that I had to take only 1 year in college to meet the foreign language requirement there. Physics was a delight, thanks to Mrs. Robinson and May Miller and Ann Sutton. Mrs. Sutton taught us physics principles punctuated by advice. Don't let the boys know you know science. As a teenager, she had sent her boyfriend to a gas station down the road when his car stalled. Meanwhile, she fixed the car. I think she later married George. She also urged us to wear red to our prom, if not red, pale blue. Or maybe it was the other way around. If we needed to diet, eat lettuce. We had music theory and chorus. We were inspired by the fact that the opera singer Martina Arroyo was a Hunter student. I'm sure we sang on many occasions. I'm Sarah Mariah Jones, I have Hunter in my bones, my name is written in my umbrella, by alumna Charlotte Hochman. What do Hunter students sing today? Math was not my best subject, but Mildred Lawson got us through. I remember Catherine Bruton less happily. She scared me with geometry. The family of one student wanted her to graduate and to go to work for the phone company, as all kind of female relatives had. She graduated, went to college, and fulfilled her dream of becoming a teacher. Other classmates went on to become teachers, librarians, judges. There was one girl I was mean to. Looking back, I wish I hadn't been, but other people remember being mean to her too, bullying in the dark ages. She transferred to a private school. We had a newspaper, What's What, and a yearbook silhouette. We had everything but boys. Thank you, Julie.
Greetings from the class of 57. Who are we? The fabulous class of 57, here to celebrate our 60th reunion. What are we? We are what Hunter helped us to be. We are doctors and lawyers, college professors, primary and secondary school teachers, advisors, administrators, artists, writers, mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers. And whatever we wanted to be, that's what Hunter gave us. We are the fearless girl of the financial district. 60 years ahead of her time. If you look at that sculpture, that's us. 65 years ago. Well, maybe 70, but that was us. We graduated in a social era of Ozzie and Harriet. Not Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzie and Harriet. And Dagwood and Blondie, when society suggested that a woman's goal should be to marry a financially secure man, stay home behind a white picket fence in the suburbs, and have his dinner and a cocktail waiting for him when he came home from a hard day at the office. Wrong. Hunter taught us to be self-reliant, financially responsible, and self-confident enough to set professional goals and achieve those goals. As an all-woman school, we had the opportunity to occupy all leadership roles. We didn't have to play dumb to be socially accepted. We didn't hate men. The tickets to the Stuyvesant, Brooklyn Tech, and Clinton dances were the hottest ticket in town. We just wanted to get out there and be partners with them as equals. We weren't against men. When I walked in here as an impressionable 11-year-old, they taught me the Sarah Mariah Jones song. I guess they don't teach that one anymore. I was told what a wonderful, marvelous, marvelous, wonderful, wonderful, marvelous creature I was, and I believed them. And I went on to prove it. Hunter gave us the tools and the skills to succeed. It was the first step up for many immigrant daughters and middle-class girls. We were all equal here. Black, white, Asian, we all passed the Hunter test, and that made us all equal. We applauded, not denigrated, academic excellence. I know that even with the addition of a cadre of testosterone-fueled males, all Hunter graduates have the confidence and potential to succeed. And now my class will tell you who they are. Okay, ladies. I'm Sarah Mariah Jones. I've got hunger in my lungs. My name is written in my umbrella. I'm a glorious thing to be, and it often occurs to me what a wonderful, marvelous, marvelous, wonderful, wonderful, marvelous, marvelous creature I am. I love you. You have all the sweet perfections of the song. No one is higher to coin a phrase above you. You do everything right, exactly right, except what you do wrong. So Sarah Mariah Jones, when they praise you with trombones, speak up, and tell the people why. Say, please don't make a fuss. You should see the rest of us with the gleam of glory's gold in every eye. That's Sarah Mariah Jones of Hunter High. Sarah Mariah Jones of Hunter High.
Next we have Doris Abrahams from the class of 1967.
We're older, definitely older. Ostensibly wiser. We spent a lot of time and energy and money developing our intellects, and I just wanted to pass on a few practical thoughts that I've learned since all the stuff I learned at Hunter. They're very, very, very practical things. And the first thing is, with all that you've stuffed into your head
please, please don't forget that your brain is a very small part of your whole physical self. So take care of your body, please. It will complain less if you're good to it. And it will complain, I guarantee you. It's going to complain. The second thing that I wanted to say is, please be, especially now, this is such a time, I think about how we were on the streets 50 years ago protesting civil rights, protesting war, many of us. And here we are again. It's same old shit. I wasn't going to get political, I know, but just one thing, please remember this, to be good to each other, to be good to the people around you, to treat them with respect and kindness, even if they're being difficult, even if they're being unpleasant. Just try to make that your go-to, to be kind. And you'll be amazed at how more cooperative people will be, and how much less cranky they'll be, and how much more fun things can be with just that very simple thing. The other thing that I've learned, and this is one that I've struggled with, and I still struggle with, is it's good to have goals. There's been a lot of talk about success today, and that's a great thing. Goals help us, they help us set our priorities, they help us have a sense of direction. They are not destinations. They are markers. And things will change. Goals will change. Priorities will be altered. Direction will be altered. Don't spend so much of your life focused on some intended destination that you miss the journey. It's all about the journey. It's all about how you act, what you do, how you are in the world around you now. You're going to be on the road your whole life, so enjoy the scenery.
My name is Sarah Manzano Diaz, and I am proudly from the class of 1972. We came in 1967, and we remember all of you. That was a great song. When you started singing, I said, oh my God, I remember that song. Fantastic. So we came in 1967, and we left in 1972, and those were watershed years for our country and for ourselves. Our class was the class before us. My class and the class after us was the largest influx of people of color that Hunter had ever seen. As a Puerto Rican girl from the projects in Harlem, it was my first time coming down to the castle. That was quite an experience, to say the least. Going from one project to another, from my perspective. But the thing about our class is that we were really of our time. And of course, when we were in 8th grade, I remember we were in class when Dr. Martin Luther King got shot. And I remember somebody coming in to tell us the news, and we all bursted out in tears. There was no school after that. And 2 months later is when Bobby Kennedy got shot. This is the stuff that we were dealing with when we were in the class of 72. And let me just share with you that we took a lot of pride in our culture, in our history, and we created the first Latino club because that's the first time you had Latinos. It was called Las Borinqueñas, which is the Taíno word for Puerto Rico. And one of the things that we used to always say is Hunter is irrelevant to our lives. Hunter has no meaning to our lives. So what we did was we created this club, and we would come in every week and we would teach each other about somebody important in the Puerto Rican and Latino community. So we learned from each other during lunchtime because there was no Latino history at Hunter. So we did things different. That is what our class is known for. And the fact that you didn't have my name, that's okay. We're up here and we're still gonna talk. Our class is that we took a lot of pride. We learned a lot about each other. We learned about our culture, and we were open to learn about other people's culture. And I think that that is one of the lasting legacies of our class. And the other thing that we took a lot of pride in is that we basically were nonconformists in the biggest way. We wanted to break every tradition that Hunter had, no matter what. That was part of our goal. So, for example, the junior blouse became our junior sweater. The senior hat became a fedora because that's how it was. And, you know, our senior song, which is We Are Presenting the Class of 72, oh yeah, right? That song was written by Angela Bofill, who is a very famous, right, Angie? Angela Bofill wrote our senior song, and all the rest of you probably marched in for your senior day. We danced in because Angie got us a band with some guys, and we were funky, and we were coming in presenting the class of 72. Oh yeah, right? So we always did things different. I just want you to know. And because of that, I think that we brought flavor to Hunter that Hunter didn't necessarily have. We also learned something that was really important for today. One of the things that we learned about was sisterhood. And even though we had our Third World Club, we had Borinqueñas, we had all these different things going on, one of the things that we were clear about is we were of our generation. So we had moratoriums around the school to protest the war. We actually had sit-ins in our school to protest the war. We also took over the school, and we made the front page of the New York Times because no college and no other school ever gained 50% of power to run the school as we did through the Constituent Assembly. So we were part of that generation. So when we talk about doing things today, we should think about what we used to do. We understood that as students we had power, and the power came through unity. And so the sisterhood that we developed through our generations, as well as through our cultural sisters as well, we were able to take over the school, take 50% of the power. We were able to say, okay, this is not relevant to us, but this is. We were students who understood our power and our strength. And I have to say, we did it in such a way that was collegial. We got along, we loved each other, and the thing about it is you can be different and have pride in your differences and your culture, but that doesn't mean to the exclusion of others. And therefore, the lesson that we learned was there's strength in unity, there's strength in sisterhood, and I am very proud to be a member of the class of 1972.
Okay. Are we ready for the class of 77? Okay. Let's try it again. Cynthia Williams, please come down.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Zinda Williams, and I'm representing Hunter High class of 1977. It's an honor to be chosen to represent, but it's also really ironic because I never dreamed of coming to Hunter, and I didn't really want to be here. It was, I had dreams of fashion, and I had dreams of meeting boys, and I had dreams of becoming the young lady that was tucked deep inside of me. But my father had other plans. So once I took the test and passed the test, he said, "You passed, you're going." And that was that. I come from very strict parenting. Education was first. But I have to say though that there was something about Hunter. We were all girls, which in my mind was like, boo. But also it was yay, because there was no competing with each other to get the attention of boys. And we had the freedom to act like little girls and say little girl things. And this was all in our own Hunter world. We were also all extremely intelligent young ladies, no matter what your nationality, what neighborhood you came from. None of that mattered. We all took that test and we were all of a certain level of intelligence. So there was a bond there. Also, we were given a lot of freedom at Hunter, which was very strange for me because you came here, you had the freedom to make choices about your life. That was quite different than any other school. We had 3 excused absences. We had a smoking bathroom. Excuse me, a smoking lounge first. And it wasn't like a smoking lounge. It was a smoking lounge, a cigarette smoking lounge. And we also had phys ed off the premises, which, I mean, who does that? It was very, very different. I don't think that would fly right now. But with those choices came the responsibility of owning the consequences of your choices. So as little girls, 11, 12, 13, 14, you realized that you had to make good decisions because you would be responsible for those choices, or for those consequences, I should say, good or bad.
I'm talking about that.
And I think my formal education, it was very valuable to me. It still is very valuable to me, and I fall back on it every day. But there was something even more important, and that was the experimental environment of Hunter. There was nothing like it. It built strength, it built character, and a sense of self. It also built the courage to know that you had the ability to do anything. If you really put your mind to it, if you really tried, you could do anything. So even in the arts, we came from great stock. At Pearl Primus, Olivia Cole, Audre Lorde, Ruby Dee, Angela Bofield, Cynthia Nixon, who some of us are going to see later on, or already did. And from our class of 77, our very own Supreme Court Justice, Elena Kagan. This is who we are. And you should be proud and understand what you're made of. And know that we are the best of the best. We are the last of the 466 Lexington Avenue Hunter. And then came the boys. So welcome, gentlemen.
Next is Amy Werble from the class of 1982.
Good afternoon. I bring you greetings from the fierce survivors of the class of 1982. You You may know us as the subjects of The Joyful Elite, a 1982 New York Magazine article that declared our recently co-educational campus America's only high school for women and boys. Our women were indeed fierce, but time has proven our male graduates to be just as joyful and elite. I bring you greetings from professors, physicians, free speech and LGBT activists, historians, mathematicians, psychologists, corporate lawyers, comedians, supermodels, yoga instructors, idealistic rural dwellers, physicists, Republican and Democratic political operatives, marathon runners, venture capitalists, engineers, musicians, bankers, amazing moms and dads, and brilliant writers. We collectively have published 48 books with a lot more in the works, including my forthcoming Lust on Trial. Get it on Amazon. Our fame in New York Magazine aside, our years at Hunter much more were influenced by the calamitous conditions of life in New York City between 1976 and 1982. Hunter still, by policy, was inclusive and diverse, with some students traveling hours to reach our school. Those journeys were perilous. Like many of my classmates, I was mugged, actually on my first date in 1980. Don't worry, I recovered and got married twice. I was relatively privileged and lucky. Many of my classmates were mugged fairly routinely on their commutes to and from the Armory in those years, which made this unfriendly fortress seem actually like a good idea. We took it all in stride. This was our world, and in many ways it was miraculous. The city pre-AIDS was an open-air wonderland that stunned us before and after screenings of the Rocky Horror Picture Show at the Waverly. Central Park was an obstacle course filled with drug dealers and thugs, incongruously nestled amongst the park's elegant but crumbling overpasses, lampposts, and monuments. Our subways, a wonder of the world, were entirely engulfed by graffiti. And yet she, or I really should say we, persisted. In fact, we did more than persist. Most of us thrived. We had lots of loudmouths in our world, including Donald Trump and Roy Cohn. But the women and boys in our class were emboldened rather than intimidated. To the classes that preceded ours, I offer heartfelt thanks. The women of the class of 1982 never, ever, not for 1 minute, doubted our equal shot at the highest offices to which we might aspire. That gift was yours to us. And the men in our class benefited as well from education in an environment in which the onus was on them to prove their right to a seat at the table. I can attest to the evidence of my classmates that the experiment proved successful. On behalf of the class of 1982, I offer my profound gratitude to an institution that not only taught us to survive life's slings and arrows, but indeed to thrive. That which did not kill us truly made us stronger. Long live our fair school.
For the Double Duck Deli, Rice Fund, Munchmaker's Candy Shop, and the Optimo Cigar Shop with a line of the latest stand-up video games. We remember UB40, David Bowie, Prince, may he rest in power forever, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, the Special Beats Service, using fake IDs to get into CBGBs, to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the B-52s, and Fishbone. We remember the Commodore PET computers and having to sign up in advance for lab time. We remember toting around dog-eared copies of books by Tolkien and Heinlein and Judy Blume, with those pages especially dog-eared. We remember our trip to Russia. We remember when the graduating class was 6% black people versus 6 black people. We remember the transparency projector and the Gessler mimeograph machine and wondering if it was true that you could get high off the fumes. We remember watching on televisions that were brought into the classroom specifically for this purpose, watching the launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger, and then the terribly twisting sensation when we realized that something had gone terribly, terribly wrong. We remember sneaking into the elevator. Let me tell you, I got aroused when I could just push a button and get on the elevator today. We used to have to make illegal keys, and I'm glad that the statute of limitations had expired. We stole the keys and had a legal copy so we could ride in the elevator. We remember sneaking into the elevator, smoking on the corner, and if you were especially bold, smoking on the 94th Street side of the courtyard. We remember feeling awkward and isolated. We remember feeling on top of the world. We remember feeling unbelievable, constant, massive pressure to strive, to achieve, to dominate with the power of our thoughts. We remember how much we have forgotten. What do we do now? Now we're single, we're married, we're divorced, we're non-monogamous, it's complicated. We live all over the 5 boroughs. We live upstate. We live in Philly, Jersey, St. Louis, Boston, London. We live in Singapore, in Hershey, Pasadena, Brookline, Arlington. We live in Santa Rosa, California, New Orleans, Louisiana, Hong Kong, DC, and Maryland. We are professors and tenured professors. We are teachers. We facilitate the arrival of new life on this planet. We take care of the health and well-being, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, of those beings around us. We are engineers of all stripes. We write science fiction. We write on geopolitics. We write on alternative sexuality, kink, leather, and BDSM, and we win awards for all of it. We are social justice warriors. We are podcasters, broadcasters, journalists. We are arbitrators, litigators, and political instigators. We work in theater, film, television. We are storytellers and performers. We are technological innovators and creators. We are financiers and financial whizzes. We manage transportation systems. We rock library science as well as every other branch of science under the sun. We are advocates for the disenfranchised as well as the pretty damn well franchised. Thank you very much. We break glass ceilings by becoming the first woman to serve as Deputy National Security Advisor under President Barack Hussein Obama. We choose to raise brilliant, beautiful children. We choose to focus our energies on our work and our passion. We sometimes choose one over the other. Sometimes we choose both. We have traveled to and worked upon every continent. We continue to fearlessly reinvent ourselves and our lives when the calling calls us. If we could defy physics and speak to our younger selves, we would offer the following hard-won advice. We would say, you know how all those people keep telling you that you will eventually be forced to stop doing things your own way and start doing them the way everyone else does? Those people are wrong. Don't let them worry you. We would tell ourselves there are lots of different ways to get through this world, and you will be able to make yours work for you. We would recommend that we worry less and explore more and buy Apple stock. We would tell ourselves to listen to our gut and not to be afraid of new things. We would tell our younger selves to learn to laugh, relax, enjoy life. Don't be so fucking serious. Enjoy your youth and be young and stupid while you can. We would shout, oh yes.
I'd like to begin by thanking the people who made this day possible. Our Alumni Association staff, Elise Reisman, Kinshasa Peterson, and Mabel Bermejo, and the Alumni Association officers and board and volunteers who make this day possible, led this year and every year when it comes to reunion weekend activities by the great Marge Goldsmith. Early in the morning of December 13th, 1985, thousands of nervous sixth graders lined up on the sidewalk, number 2 pencils in hand, waiting to take the Hunter test. I remember it being a frigid day. In truth, according to Today in New York weather history, it was not that cold. A high of 40, damp, a bit breezy. But the significance of that day made it seem colder to an impressionable 11-year-old. 4 months later, we received a thick envelope in the mail with a cover letter welcoming us to Hunter, and 250 of us began life together in the brick prison in September 1986. We, the 25th reunion class, were the last generation of Hunter students whose time was not controlled by technology. None of us had cell phones. 1 or 2 classmates had beepers for reasons unknown. By graduation, only a handful of us had used email. We used our landlines to study together from home or to communicate with our first boyfriends and girlfriends. Our first term papers were prepared on typewriters. College essays were printed on dot matrix printers unless a parent had access to a laser printer at work. We learned how to use the school darkroom in photography class, and we transitioned What's What and the Observer from hand layout with glue and razor blades to desktop publishing. We used the payphone outside this auditorium to get advanced word on college acceptances, rather than waiting till the end of the day and then taking a subway or 2, plus maybe a bus, to go home and open the mail. We started Hunter in the 1980s of Wall Street and Gordon Gekko's Greed is Good. Then the stock market had what we thought was a once-in-a-lifetime crash when we were in 10th grade. Hip-hop broke through to dominate pop music as we traded in our cassette tapes for shiny new CDs. Our teachers pointed out to us when the Times began to use the new title, Ms. Some of our earliest efforts as activists focused on homelessness, hunger, and the new disease of AIDS, which dominated public policy debates and popular culture and added an extra urgency to our sex ed classes. Nostalgia can be powerful, but this was also an era when getting mugged on the subway or the street was a real risk. For a while, we lived in fear of getting jumped by the Decepticons at 96th Street subway stop. Only at Hunter would one fear a gang reportedly formed at Brooklyn Tech. The headlines of the Daily News and the Post and New York Newsday, remember that? Were about the crime du jour, some of which, like the Preppy murder and the attack on the Central Park jogger, took place only a few blocks from here. Despite everything that was going on around in the city and the world, our focus was on what was going on inside Hunter's walls, in these classrooms, in the courtyard, and in the hallways where we camped out during free period and at lunchtime, where we played handball as 7th graders, and we later drank iced coffee, deconstructed the latest episode of Beverly Hills 90210, and complained about how much homework we had to do. In those classrooms, we were fortunate to have been taught by some truly great teachers who left their marks on us decades later. E. Ira Marinoff was at the peak of his powers, delivering his early morning tutorials to those of us getting ready to take the AP American History test without actually taking the course, and thundering his famous sayings. Imagine his views on the current state of politics and the media. He probably would invoke his famous equine paradox. Why are there more horses' asses than horses? To explain what's going on in Washington. Parker Barada taught us Shakespeare and Dostoevsky while sharing all sorts of un-PC observations about the world of literature, members of the school community, and the wider world. No one who had Sue Eichler for social studies during the digital watch era would forget to set his or her cell phone to silent mode before a theater performance. We helped break in some great teachers of the next generation, like Joan Kenyon, who demanded so much from us and who taught us to become critical writers and readers, whether she was teaching us about modern Arab politics or the causes of the French Revolution. Moving from the right brain to the left, we were fortunate to have science and math teachers who showed us that these too are creative fields. We first grew to love math in classes taught by Linda Abudi, Geraldine Ganzekoffer, and Mark Nadel, and many of us continued all the way through BC Calculus with Sheila Strauss and Hal Weinstein, who showed us how amazing advanced mathematics could be. We learned to become true research scientists under the guidance of Bobby Brickman and Bob Goodman, Fran Salzman, Larry Borton, and the Alumni Association's own Marge Goldsmith. That so many of our classmates entered scientific fields, medicine, technology, research, and science education is a credit to these great scientist teachers. And we gave our energies to every form of extracurricular activity, where some of our strongest bonds of friendship were formed. We led teams to Manhattan titles and top city rankings in a range of sports. We helped bring back the Hunter United Nations Society 2 years before Bill Clinton declared that he never inhaled, but some model ambassadors from Hunter had. Nurtured by great art and music teachers like Julie Reifer and Allison Schiff, our class advisors, Linda Bell and Campbell Austin, some of us used acting in musical rep, Brick Prison Playhouse and HTE Productions, studio art time, performing at Arts Days, or singing in the choruses and Revelation as launching pads for careers in the arts. Some student journalists became professional writers. And some of us just look back at our high school activities and think that we should really run more. Or maybe this time to try out for a community theater production. Maybe when the kids are a little older or work is a little quieter. We look back at our time in the Brick Prison with gratitude for the rich and challenging education that we received. But most of all, we look back at the experience of being part of a small class for 6 years, and for some of us who are also elementary school graduates, being part of the same school community for more than twice as long. We will not have the opportunity to be members of such an intense and intellectually engaged long-term community again. Today, we members of the class of 1992 are older, obviously. Some of us are grayer, paunchier, or bolder. Some of us are all three. One of our classmates took out her reading glasses to review a draft of this speech. One of our classmates is on the Hunter faculty, and one classmate is a member of both the Alumni Association and the Hunter PTA. Tonight, we'll gather at a bar downtown and toast our fellow classmates, our high school memories, and our alma mater. And we'll look forward to reuniting 5 years from now. Thank you.
One thing I enjoy particularly about going to Hunter is that we've had all these classes and I'm only the second guy to be giving one of these speeches. It's wonderful to see you all here. People came from far-reaching places like Staten Island. 20 years. My class is 20 years now, which is long enough that some of us could have had another Hunter alumni by now. Unlike other high schools, that's not very likely. We were a lot more responsible. Now, we're at a high school reunion, where former students get together to relive old times, rekindle friendships, and pretend we're each much more successful than we are. That is a lot of the reason that many people go to their high school reunions, to show everyone who doubted us just how wonderful our lives are now. That and to see if our high school crushes still look just as good. By the way, they do, and they are still not interested. But Hunter is different than most schools, because the odds are we are all successful. Some of our accolades have come in the professional world with big important job titles, and some of our accolades have come in the personal world with big important families. But the thing about Hunter is that we know coming into this reunion that we are all going to be successful. This is the first Hunter reunion I've been to, And for a while, I thought I'd go to our 20th to crow about what I've accomplished since the last time I hung out in the freak hallway. But, fellow freaks. But as I got older, I realized that's not the point of this reunion. The point of the reunion is to hear all the amazing things that everyone else has done. Even when we were students, we already had successes. I still tell people the story of Adam Cohn, a student who built a computer mouse you could move with your eyes in 9th grade. Something that I'm pretty bummed is not on the market yet. And look at our alumni. We've already discussed some of them today, but Lin-Manuel Miranda is an Oscar away from an EGOT. Bobby Lopez is the youngest EGOT ever, if you count daytime Emmys. John Daniels became the youngest general manager in baseball history. Chris Hayes became the youngest host of a primetime news show. Elena Kagan is a freaking Supreme Court justice. Young MC, Cynthia Nixon, Olivia Cole, Max Kellerman, Ruby Dee, Diane Lane, Dugis. The list goes on. And there was that one pharmaceutical kid, Martin something or other, but he dropped out, so as far as I'm concerned, that asshole went to Stuyvesant. I was trying to pin down what it is about Hunter that breeds success like this. How could one school breed this kind of success? I thought it might be an academically challenging environment where we don't discuss whether or not we're going to take AP tests, rather how many we will be taking. Then I thought it might be the volume and the diversity of Hunter's student groups, where we're encouraged to do everything from ending world hunger to get really freaking good at board games. Which, by the way, ending hunger would make a pretty good board game. Someone should probably get on that. Finally, I realized what it was that made my class understand that the world is ours for the taking. Killer. I know that the administration is here and you're probably not happy that I'm advocating playing killer, but you know that we play. To pretend that we don't is to pretend that we never smoked under the arches or hooked up in that 4th floor stairwell cage thingy, which I actually did not do either of those two things. I'm not cool enough for either one, but other students did, so you get the point. To understand killer is to understand Hunter, because Hunter is a bunch of kids too smart for their own good who do not respect authority when it doesn't make sense. And that is how you succeed in the world. Lynn didn't get nominated for 29 Tony Awards by playing within the system. John Daniels didn't bring the Texas Rangers from the cellar to the World Series by doing anything traditionally. And no one records a kill by waiting patiently on school grounds. Hunter students grow up to be doctors and teachers and journalists and titans of industry. We grow up to set records and break boundaries and change the world. And whether it's on Broadway or at home, or in a baseball diamond or in Washington, there's one thing we all have in common. We are stone cold killers. Thank you for your time. I'll see you under the arches.
My name is Gail Hinken.
Danny Hodge.
It's great to be here with you. Thanks for having us. Since this is our first big milestone reunion, 10 years, we thought it'd be, nothing like 60 years, but we thought it'd be appropriate to talk a little bit about how the Hunter that we experienced and the surrounding world during our time here influenced us. Just like the rest of you, our years at Hunter were filled with events and memories, probably fewer muggings, but that continue to play a role in how we experience the world. Our first day of 7th grade was Thursday, September 6th, 2001. So 4 days into high school was 9/11. I was in 3rd period French class with Madame Blue when we heard the news and uncertainty filled the hallways. But my more enduring memory is of classmates I had just met a few days prior offering to host sleepovers for people from the outer boroughs who might have had a difficult time getting back home. The city and the country changed a lot that day, but I knew that Hunter was a warm and welcoming place that would be a home for me for the next 6 years.
Sometime during our time here, almost everyone in our class would have the pleasure of being substitute taught English or music by a young Hunter alumnus that over the time we knew as Mr. Miranda. The real treat was getting him to substitute music class because that normally meant that he was either going to play over a CD or do a live rendition of a musical that he was just casually working on the side. The year after we graduated and were in college, we quickly found out that musical, In the Heights, would premiere on Broadway and sweep the Tonys, and our substitute teacher, Lin-Manuel Miranda, would be known by a lot more people than just us. Try as we might, it's hard to imagine a world without social media, and for us, Facebook started allowing high schoolers to join at the beginning of our junior year. replaced Zanga, MySpace, and a number of other networks that people probably haven't spoken about outside of this speech in years. Some of us were quicker than others to adopt it. By the time the college decisions were made, almost everyone in our grade had joined Facebook to do some snooping on their future college classmates. Believe it or not, the technology was so new to us that we didn't even have the time to figure out any of the dumb, malicious, mean behavior that's plagued younger generations. For us, those memories are all friend requests, birthday wishes, and the occasional poke.
So to address what you're all probably really wondering, our grade's mascot was a James Dean-styled habeas corpus, whose slogan was "Rebel without a clause." Our constitutional theme was undoubtedly influenced by our term council advisor, Mr. Irving Kagan, who taught constitutional law and has a rather famous Supreme Court Justice sister. We'll be getting together with our classmates later this evening at a bar in Manhattan to catch up and have some drinks and snacks, and we look forward to sharing memories with all of you here. So please feel free to come up and chat with us later in the day. Thank you.
Is anybody here from the class of 2012? Okay. We don't have anybody registered, but I want to make sure we're not. So that's the end of our program here. We have lunch outside and downstairs, whatever you've registered for. I want to say thank you again to Elise Reisman, who's here, Mabel, and Kishala Peterson for putting this together. That's our staff. I want to thank the board as well. We're all volunteers doing this.
Certainly thank you everyone for joining, and we hope you enjoyed all the speeches. There's also a softball game that's happening a little bit later. I think it's at 2. And then for folks who signed up for the conservatory garden tour or the various tours of the old Hunter buildings.